I love talking about character of lenses.
You shoot with the hood on or hood off?
Hood off, always.
Hood off, always.
Some people say like portraits are easy because you can tell people what to do, but that's part of the problem as well, is you can tell people what to do.
Yeah.
It's just like endless possibilities. People would say like, oh, it's cheating if you buy a preset, but like you can learn so much.
Yeah,
like,
I would never edit a wedding gallery without a preset.
Me neither. Me neither. No way.
Hello and welcome back to the Full Frame Podcast presented by Sony. Today I'm in the studio with Julia Trotti. How are you?
Hi, good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really
no problem.
excited to be here.
Do you want to do a bit of a brief introduction? Because people should know you. I hope they know you already.
Thank you. Hey, my name's Julia Trotti. I'm a portrait photographer and a YouTube creator. I've been doing photography for, I'm going to say at least 17 years since I picked up a camera. Wow. So it's been quite a long time. And I've been doing it professionally for 15 years now. I've done like quite a few things in my career over that time. I started off actually as a retoucher. That was like the first job that I ever had. Okay. And then I got into doing headshot photography at that studio as well. And then I was doing fashion photography. I did weddings full time for like 7 years. And around that time, I started my YouTube channel, which is what I'm doing now full time. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good set of skills to build up.
Yeah, it's a bit of a background.
Yeah, did all of that kind of feed into reviewing?
Yeah,
because I think that's what people probably most well know you by.
Yeah, for sure. I think my reviews are pretty interesting because I do have that background in photography and all that experience. So I think people really value what I have to say about certain lenses and camera bodies because of that experience. Like I really do apply my reviews into like real world usage.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I've been watching your work for forever.
Oh, thank you.
But, there's a lot of review channels out there. And I think traditionally a lot of people were reviewing it on behalf of a store perhaps, or they're reviewing it not as independently, or they're kind of, they have the product, but then they just go and shoot something in their back garden. And it's not really a really in-depth review, not as like a real world review, whereas your reviews were always actually out with talent, shooting on a location with a specific shot list kind of in mind.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what I always wanted to do getting into YouTube. I would see those reviews. Like we need those technical reviews as well, but I really wanted to just get out in the field and just use every piece of gear that I could get my hands on in the same way at a portrait photo shoot, because I think sometimes like gear reviews can be technical, but I think the creativity also plays a part into the pros and cons of certain gear. So it's interesting to see how something performs when you're actually using it.
Yeah. And I think, people taking photos of charts and things like that often shows, like the technical specifications of a lens or a camera, but it doesn't show you what it's like to use, the ergonomics. And then also even down to, the character of the lens, like that's a big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I love talking about character of lenses. Like I'm a big fan of like lens flares. That's always like a big portion of my reviews.
Do you shoot with the hood on or hood off?
Hood off, always.
Hood off, always. Okay.
I'm always shooting backlight with a hood off. Yeah, because I love getting lens flares in my shots.
Yeah. I think it just adds like a little extra sauce to the image.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting because I was a big lens hood user for the longest time.
Yeah.
And you would know as well, like coming from weddings, if you're wearing a harness, I always leave the hoods on because 100% I'm going to knock it on a table or a chair or it's going to hit something. So for the longest time, I was like a hood on kind of guy. But now I've joined the cult of no hood.
Joined the bright side.
The bright side. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny story actually with the weddings and having your cameras on harnesses. I use UV filters on my lenses and people are like, why? It like ruins the quality of the images, which if you've got a good enough UV filter, like you're not really going to notice that. But I was shooting a wedding once and I was walking past a table and the front of my lens hit into the corner of a table.
Ooh.
And it cracked the front of the lens.
Oh, front element?
Yeah.
Ooh.
But then it turns out it just cracked the UV filter. So
that's lucky.
Little, life hack.
Did you manage to take it off?
I did,
Okay.
Yeah, good.
That's
I
lucky.
had a mini heart attack when I saw that.
Yeah. I was shooting a wedding a while ago and at the groom's house, they were doing burnouts in like G-Wagons and stuff. And I didn't have a filter on my 2470 GM and a little rock bounced straight off the road and took a tiny chip right in the corner where you won't notice it. But in that moment, I was like, oh, I wish I'd just put a UV filter on it.
Yeah. Oh, you're so lucky it was in the corner though.
I know. Yeah. So that kind of journey from retouching through to shooting like professional portraiture, headshots, and then weddings. How long did it take to develop your style? Because I think, like a lot of style also comes from the way you shoot. It also comes with presets, which you also do. But how long did it take you to like figure out that style? Because that's a question that people ask like all the time.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because if you look back at my very, very early work, my style has pretty much always been there. Like it's always been kind of the same, like the core elements where I'm always shooting outside in nature because I feel very like connected to that. Like locations are a very big inspiration for me to do photo shoots. I was always shooting quite like whimsical, free-flowing subjects as well. So it's always been there. It's sort of like the quality and my technique has gotten better over the years. But yeah, I think my style has always just been a very strong point of my work. Yeah, so I don't know if that's not really helpful.
No, I still think that's helpful. I think, it's one of those things where like it can take time for some people, but it's interesting that, you know, maybe it's because you had that background in retouching and you're already looking at really high quality, well composed, well lit images. So you kind of almost got a leapfrog into, you know, what really good portraiture can look like.
Yeah. Actually, I will say like when I first picked up a camera, I did so many different genres of photography like before I got that retouching job and I was just doing photography for fun. I would shoot like, lots of nature, I'd shoot clouds, I was trying to do macro, I'd take self-portraits, photos of my sister, like anything I could take a photo of, I was shooting it. Yeah. And then that sort of led me into portraits. I realized that that's what I love the most because I found it really interesting having to work with someone else to get the images that you want rather than relying on like just nature or lighting or landscapes. Yeah. So yeah, that really resonated with me.
Yeah. Working with talent is like a whole nother ball game compared to so many other genres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people say like portraits are easy because you can tell people what to do, but that's part of the problem as well is you can tell people what to do.
Yeah.
It's just like endless possibilities and like you have to learn how to work with different personalities and you're usually like meeting people on the day of a photo shoot. So you've got to learn to work with them kind of there on the spot, which is quite interesting.
What are some of those kind of like techniques you use to kind of work with talent or, you know, get more expression out of the talent? Like what's your process look like?
So I've really like honed in my process over the years. There was like a time where I was learning how to do all this where I realized I was doing almost too much at a photo shoot that would get people to just freeze up in front of the camera because it's like I'm just talking too much and giving too many directions and they feel like they can't really be themselves in front of the lens. And then there was a time where I was so shy, like right at the beginning, where I would barely give any direction and then the shoots wouldn't end up being that good because I wasn't doing enough. So now I've kind of found that balance in between where I like just kind of chatting to people and getting to know them and making them feel comfortable, asking them about stuff that makes them happy, like their pets or family or travel or hobbies and things like that, just like keeping the conversation going. It sort of like takes their mind off the shoot a little bit, especially if they're super nervous. You don't want them to be like fully thinking about the camera and the lens like the whole time. And then I also incorporate just a lot of movement into my shoots as well. So I'm constantly moving from location to location. I'm constantly asking my subjects to do things and I'm not just getting them to like pose, but I'll get them to like walk around and sit down and spin around and it just kind of gets them like loosened up a little bit and helps the flow of the shoot quite a lot.
Yeah, shooting in natural light where you've got lots of light available anyway, you can afford to shoot really fast.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It definitely helps because I think like that whole posed look, especially with beginner photographers, they lean too hard into like, I mean, whole apps exist for like memorizing poses and stuff, which is really interesting because I'm the same as you where I'd rather ask the talent to perform an action or talk about something they love or like do something that's going to make them feel comfortable. Whereas the pose aspect, it does work, but it's so interesting that like some photographers just do it so differently.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I do think it's interesting and good to have some poses in mind. Like I definitely have like a little list in the back of my head of go-to poses that I have. So it's like if something's not working or the movement isn't working, because again, like everyone's different. Like I might be able to get great walking shots with someone and then I try to do that with someone else and like they're not quite as like free-flowing when they're walking. So it is good to have like a couple of poses in your head. But yeah, I do the apps that have like the list of poses is very interesting.
Yeah, I find that interesting as well because like I know if I was with a client or if I was a client and I saw the photographer like get out their list and be like looking, I'd be like, what's wrong? not trying to say those apps aren't really useful, but just I think that's really interesting because I think like it can be extremely helpful, but it's also like then you're kind of like bottlenecking yourself into like, oh, I've got to do this, and it's just more for you to remember.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things that I was saying where I was almost giving too much direction to my clients before, and they'd freeze up, where you'd be really specific, like, oh, let's do arm here, leg there, body like this. And then they'd sort of like freeze, like, okay, I'm not going to move because this is what they wanted me to do.
They're like those art posing little wooden
little
people.
things.
Yeah, the little mannequin people. Yeah. Yeah, because once you try and direct, one body part, then they start overthinking everything else.
Yeah, I'm so aware of that when I'm shooting with people. Yeah.
With your style as well, because you like shooting like outdoors, out in nature. Sydney's great for that as well, because there's so many locations where you can shoot and you wouldn't even like know where it is.
Yeah.
How do you find locations for portrait shoots?
Oh, I spend a lot of time location scouting.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I just go out for like drives or walks around the suburbs, and even like if I'm going out to meet friends or I'm running errands, I'm always keeping an eye out for places to shoot. Like it's almost like I can't switch that off in my brain. Yeah. I'm always looking. I'm like, oh, that would be a cool spot to shoot.
Yeah.
And I actually find that a lot of the locations that I shoot in, a lot of people maybe wouldn't even give it a second look if they walk past it. Sometimes I find that like really overgrown weeds, for example, look so good in photos. So I'm always looking for like random things like that. And I find that you're right, Sydney is like super beautiful. And I think growing up here has shaped my photography in some way, because there's just so much nature in Sydney. And so for me, it's really easy to find locations to shoot with that like a part of that style. We have like heaps of parks, and people have beautiful front yards. I'm always using people's front yards for my photo shoot locations. Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially because if you're doing YouTube reviews as well, you don't necessarily want to be in a really crowded space. One, because, you want better audio, but then also you don't want people interacting with your talent or making anything uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So like having parkland or, grassland or kind of nature areas makes a lot of sense as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. How long does it take you to produce a YouTube video?
Ooh, it really depends. But let's say we're doing let's say like a lens review, for example. So I'll get the lens, and then I'll probably spend some time playing around with it here and there. Like I'll test out certain things. I usually do a little photo shoot with Dan to like start getting a feel for like what it looks like and stuff.
When are you releasing those images?
Maybe like down the line, I could do a little like coffee table book of all the test images.
Just the images of Dan,
yeah. And then I'll set up a portrait photo shoot day. So we'll do that. And then I'll set up a day where we do like the official like autofocus test, bokeh test, lens flare test that I include in all the images, in all the videos. And then I have a day where I write the script. That's probably the part that actually takes the longest, because it's like where I have to gather like all my thoughts and really decide what I'm saying about that piece of gear, like what the pros are, what the cons are. It's like a balance between, like, I want to be honest in my reviews. That's like my number one priority, is to make videos for the people who are potentially buying this piece of gear.
Yeah, and they're trusting you.
Yeah. So for me, I'm always wanting to be honest, but it's also important to keep an eye on like all the different perspectives of certain gear as well. So just because a lens is cheap doesn't mean it's bad, because for some people that's all they can afford. So you kind of have to look at it from all different ways. Not everyone wants a lens because they're doing professional work and making money out of it. Some people are looking for a lens as a hobby.
I mean, actually statistically, it's probably the majority of people aren't doing it as a profession.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Or like, as a hobby, and they're like trying to get into it. Yeah. So you've got all of that kind of stuff to think about. So I find that takes me the longest amount of time, to find that balance and the right like words. And then actually editing the video is pretty quick. It would take me about a whole day if I start at 9 a.m. and finish at 5 p.m. It's funny because like the whole cut of the video takes me quite quick. And then it's like the last bit that takes me the longest, where it's like the color grading, adding the camera settings that I used, like repositioning all the photos to make sure they're cropped in the right spot in the video, and doing the audio,
it's all the fine tuning
music.
Little bits.
Yeah, it all
That's
like
so
adds
funny.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the first 80% of the video is actually really easy. It's that last 20% that can take so much time.
Like part of it might be me being a bit too much of a perfectionist, and maybe I need to let go a little bit. But yeah. So in total, I would say like a Monday to Friday it would take me to make a lens review.
Like a whole week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny that especially talking with brands or things like that, it's interesting in the creator economy where, certain brands are asking for XYZ for a review, or they're giving up product in exchange for a video or something like that. Whereas like a YouTube video is a full week of work.
Yeah.
Almost.
And like we're not getting paid to do that. And like, yeah, that's part of the thing is I don't accept payments for reviews because at that point it wouldn't be a review because it'd be like a sponsored video. Yeah. So YouTube reviews are very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What led you to down that path to start doing reviews?
I'm really like passionate about lenses. I've always loved like talking about them. One of my most popular videos when I first started my channel that helped me kind of grow was talking about my favorite and least favorite lenses.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, this is my niche.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then I found just making reviews, like Dan and I have a very interesting skill set together from all the jobs that we've done over the years that really plays well into YouTube and making reviews. We've got like a good perspective and experience on things to be able to talk about gear in the way that we do. And I find it really fun, like making reviews. I find it interesting and it's quite challenging as well. Again, that whole thing of like coming up with the pros and the cons and thinking of different perspectives. So I like that challenge.
I think, it would be challenging. We've spoken about it before with Sean and I where, a brand might release a product and 90% of people go, And there's that little 10% of people with some really interesting niche of photography that are like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So I find that, it would be a bit of a challenge to kind of balance out those perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. With the reviews, so if it's a week-long process, that's you could fill out a whole year, especially with how fast things are being released these days.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It depends on the time of year though, because I find certain times of year there's more gear dropping than other times of year. And on my channel, while I do love doing gear reviews a lot, I find that it's important to share a nice variety of videos as well. So I try to balance my gear reviews with also just photography tutorials and also just like creative, fun videos like photo shoot behind the scenes where it's not really about the gear. It's just about showing the process of capturing images with whatever you have.
People really love seeing the behind the scenes as well. I feel like there's been this massive resurgence of not showing the finished product, but just actually showing the process.
Yeah, I feel like short form content has really shaped that again, where it used to be a bit more about the final product and now it's more about the behind the scenes, which I really like because that's what I love sharing so much. And then also I have like travel vlogs that I share too.
Yeah. The behind the scenes is so informative as well because, someone could be, 6 months into photography. They've, just picked up a body and a kit lens, but then they're watching you. Like you said, you've been shooting professionally for 17 years and then them being able to see how you shoot.
Yeah.
That's going to be far more informative than just seeing like a finished photo, once it's been retouched and everything.
Yeah, definitely. I get a lot of comments. They make me really happy of people saying that like my videos have like helped them improve their photography, helped inspire them to get started in photography. So it's a really cool way for people to see, just a different side of the process. Because when I started photography all those years ago, YouTube wasn't a thing back then. I wish it was.
Yeah.
But it didn't exist. So I didn't get to see any of that stuff. For me, it was only seeing the final product from people. So could only imagine like how that would have shaped my work if that was available back then.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll never know.
Because I feel like there's a few really well-known YouTubers that have been operating in that space for like a long time and you're obviously one of those people. And like how that's really shaped the photographic industry as a whole, but then also shaped, social media and also YouTube itself. Like we talked with Mike a while ago, but it's so funny. It's so interesting to be chatting to someone who kind of actually shaped a lot of how the industry works.
Yeah, it's so weird because I know I did, but at the same time, it's not something that I actively think about. So when I'm in moments like this, I'm like, oh my gosh, God. I actually did. Like what?
Yeah.
But
especially because there weren't a lot of Australian YouTubers
yes.
in the early days.
Yeah, that's right. Not a lot of Australians, not a lot of women reviewing gear either. And I feel like a big difference that I made is taking gear out on location like we were talking about before. And I did notice a lot more people starting to go out and shoot after my videos started gaining some traction.
Okay.
And people were like, oh, okay, maybe we should get back out in the field with this gear.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's just like you can get a really good understanding of something on paper, but actually seeing it being used and used in a professional sense, like you're doing these, they're shoots for YouTube, I'm guessing, but you're operating and shooting them in a way like you would if it was a proper client, a proper shoot.
Yeah,
and I think people really love that.
Yeah, I'm taking all my history like as a fashion photographer, headshot photographer, wedding photographer, and I'm just shooting the way I would shoot those jobs with the gear. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still do a lot of that work?
I don't do weddings anymore because it's too hard to balance that out. I feel like I need to give more to my wedding clients, and YouTube takes a lot of time, as you know, with the one video taking like a whole week sometimes. I do still take on like commercial work on the side. Not fashion per se, but just like general commercial work, because I do think it's important to still have clients and do something for someone else, like having to fulfill their brief rather than just your own all the time. Yeah, it helps you, like it's good creatively to work for someone else here and there.
Yeah, I think it also just like adds more tools to your toolkit, keeps you sharp.
Yeah, you don't want to lose touch of like what like people came to my channel for in the first place. So I think it's important, to keep working.
Yeah, especially as someone who's, sharing a lot of knowledge from a long career, like a lot of experience. Yeah, you don't want to fall out of touch with.
Yes.
I mean, I can see it already when I look at, some of the, up and coming creators, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Like I haven't learned that skill, especially when people are doing like a lot of like motion graphics now. I'm like, oh, that's like, I haven't even gone down that road.
Things definitely change over time. Like there's trends that come and go, and clients expect different things over time. Like when I first started, the whole short form media didn't exist. So people would just ask quotes for like commercial work or fashion works for like long form content or final photos. Whereas over time in recent years, people started they wanted quotes for short form media as well. So like things change a lot over time, and you need to keep up with that.
Yeah. How have you navigated that? Because you've been doing YouTube for a long time, and not that I know a lot about that in terms of like the creator economy, but things ebb and flow, trends change. Videos that performed really well 5 years ago might not perform now as well. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think just trying to stay on top of it as best you can. I try not to be too like working for the algorithm when I make videos, because I think that would just make me really depressed over time, like that's not how I like to function. I still like being authentic to myself and making the things that I want to make, while still keeping in mind that it is important to like make things that people want to see. And it's about, you kind of almost have to self-critique quite a lot, but it's been like this my whole career even with photography. I think it's important to do a lot of self-reflection and see what your clients like and what they don't like, and then try to work towards a little bit more of what will get you more bookings. And it's the same thing when it comes to social media and making videos like you just have to keep track of what people are really after. So I find that when I first started, uploading more simple videos was really good, like just a simple behind the scenes photo shoot. Whereas now I think with short form media, that's sort of, people can go to that to see that kind of content. So they don't want to go all the way to YouTube and like pick a video and sit through an ad and then have to watch 10 minutes of a photo shoot when they can just see it on short form. So you kind of have to work a little bit harder now.
So what's the workaround?
So now for me, I like giving a lot of like value-based videos, and you kind of really have to work on your titles and thumbnails. So the contents of my video are kind of similar as before, because I've always given a lot of value in my videos, but you kind of have to package it a little bit differently, because you can make the most amazing video in the world, have the most information, spend a lot of time on the edits, but if no one clicks on it, then there's no point in you having spent all that time making the video, So yeah, there's like this whole meta about like YouTube titles and thumbnails, and I try to stay on top of that as much as I can, because you want people to click the
video. Yeah. Because it's social media now. You can't just leverage one platform. You've got to leverage one platform into a funnel to get them to another platform to then watch the video.
Exactly.
Then, yeah. So what's that kind of breakdown for you? Like, because you're obviously not just doing YouTube. You said you still do some commercial work, but what else is keeping you busy?
Well, that keeps me really busy. Yeah, at the moment in October, I've been working like a lot, but what I do keeps me busy like pretty much Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And that's with me like forcing myself to work that amount of time, because you can easily work more. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do is YouTube and commercial work. Yeah.
And then you also sell presets as well.
Yes.
I mean, I've bought them in the past.
Oh, thank you. I hope you like them.
No, I love them. The Amalfi.
Yes. That's my number one. I love that one. Yeah. I sell presets, and I also worked with Skylum to create a retouching software as well.
That's right.
Yeah, that took
let's talk about that.
A big chunk of this year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. So basically, Skylum is a company. They've got another software called Lumina Neo. That's like what they're really, really known for.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And then they got in touch with me, and they were like, we want to offer a solution for portrait photographers. They're like, what's your workflow when it comes to editing? And we basically set up a meeting, and I ran them through like a whole beginning to end editing workflow. And I showed them how I manually retouch photos. So I used to use frequency separation, which is just like a method that you use in Photoshop to smooth out skin and shadows and get like a bit of a flawless look on people's skin, but it still retains like skin texture, so people look real rather than like a doll. And basically this method takes anywhere between 10 minutes to an hour to retouch one portrait.
Yeah.
And so when you're delivering a set of images to your client, I'm usually delivering maybe 20 to 30 images. So you can imagine how long that takes to edit all those images one by one.
Yeah.
And they were like, why don't we work together and make a software that will allow you to do AI retouching? So it's just automatic retouching. Instead of spending 20 minutes editing a photo, you can just lift a slider and it'll get rid of all the blemishes. So we worked together for months and months and months. I basically gave them like a wish list of my dream editing software, like everything that I would want in it. And they're like, all right, let's start prioritizing what tools we should have in there. Then they would start working on like the AI side of stuff, like the actual technical stuff. So the main one was the blemish removal tool to like get rid of just like blemishes on people's skin without blurring anything.
Yeah.
And so they
not like just drop it in the clarity slider.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they would work on the tool, then they would send me like the beta version of the tool. I would test it out, see what was working, what wasn't working, what could be better, give them feedback. And it was sort of like a big back and forth with all the tools until we were happy with like how it worked and what it looked like. And then we packaged it all up into a software. It's called Apity. And then we launched, and
That's
it was
cool.
really exciting. Yeah. It was such a cool project. It was kind of like I came around a whole 360 because I started my career as a retoucher, and now I've got a software that I collaborated with.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just circling back to, presets and things like that. I think there's a tendency where people kind of shy away from buying presets, or, some maybe like more traditional photographers will be like, no, you need to figure out your own style. But so much of my learning is, looking at photographers that I really admire. And, but I bought like so many presets. And then, you pick bits from each of those and you're like, oh, I like the way the tone curve looks in this. And then I like the way the colors interpreted in this. And then you're slowly working towards maybe one day building your own.
Yeah.
But buying presets like that is really, really, really helpful, because if you're just playing around in the sliders on Lightroom or whatever editing software, you can't always necessarily see exactly what it's doing. And, one adjustment one somewhere will undo something that you've done elsewhere.
Yeah, it's like a whole balance.
Yeah, like you're lifting the shadows here, but then you're pulling it down in the tone curve. So to someone who's not as familiar with it, you're kind of like, oh, I just undid what I did. But buying presets and kind of understanding why a photographer's made a specific choice is like immensely helpful.
Yes. Yeah, I get comments like that a lot. It's interesting. Presets are definitely more accepted nowadays, but back in the day, like there was a lot of hate towards presets as well. But a lot of people don't understand that, sometimes they're just used as a tool to see how other people are editing, and then you can kind of build your own style off of that preset. Like there's nothing wrong in doing that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time people would say like, oh, it's cheating if you buy a preset, but like you can learn so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're shooting similar subject matter all the time, like, your work is very consistent, and I'd like to think my work is consistent too. But if you're a photographer that's shooting something that's highly repeatable with similar color palette, like presets are actually a really powerful tool.
Yeah, it
like
definitely saves heaps of time while editing too.
Yeah, I would never edit a wedding gallery without a preset.
Me neither. Me neither. No way.
Yeah, it would just be, you'd be there for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's kind of coming up for you at the moment?
So at the moment, I'm just working on pretty much sustaining my YouTube channel. Like, I love what I do so much. So I just want to keep that going. Still want to do reviews, still want to make tutorials on YouTube. I've got a bunch of travel vlogs coming up as well that I traveled earlier in the year. I'm a little bit behind on editing those, but they're coming.
Yeah.
And then I'm really excited because I'm actually kind of halfway through filming a project that I've been working on for quite a long time this year, which is a set of online workshops. So my first one is going to be about natural lighting, and it's just everything that I know about how to utilize natural light outdoors, how to get the best results possible with and without any equipment. So things like reflectors rather than like actual lighting.
Yeah, okay.
Because a lot of the time, like, photographers have to work solo, so it's not realistic to have a lot of equipment
to bring a
on
camera
set,
cart
you know?
with, you know, 16 strobes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one to hold it. Like, you need, permission to set up tripods and stuff. So yeah, it's like how to do it without any equipment. So I'm really excited for that. I'm hoping it'll come out by the end of the year, but we'll see how I go in the editing room.
Yeah. But those kind of projects, especially for courses, they take a lot of time.
They do. Yeah. And I just want to give it everything I have. Like, I want it to be the best thing it can possibly be. So yeah, there's that perfectionism getting in there again. But yeah.
I mean, I think like those kind of like courses where you're just putting everything in it, they're really valuable to a lot of people because, like you said, YouTube didn't exist when you started. It didn't really exist when I started either. So I already see up and coming photographers and content creators, and I'm like, you are so far ahead of where I was. Like, they'll be 2 years into shooting, and I was like, I only just learnt what aperture was. No, but yeah, just seeing how quickly people can learn. It's like Anne said it on the previous episode. It's like more often than not, people, once they go up a ladder, you don't pull the ladder up behind you. You put down more ladders.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think I'm hanging on to that metaphor because I think that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also with an online workshop, you're basically with me from morning till night is one of the things that we filmed is every single lighting situation there is.
That's cool.
And then we're going to film on an extra day where we've got some overcast weather and different kinds of weather to work with as well. So it's different to if you go to a real life workshop with me where it's usually like 4 or 3 hours. So you're only getting like a certain window of lighting.
AKA the best light,
hopefully. The best light,
yeah.
Whereas here you're going to get everything, including like we shot so much. I think the biggest segment is actually during the midday harshest sun because I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, that's good. I think people shy away from it. But
they shouldn't because there's ways you can, definitely work around it.
I mean, some fashion photographers love that look.
Yeah.
And weddings too. You can't avoid it. You have to shoot it.
Yeah.
So with regards to like the shoots that you're doing for YouTube, where are you drawing the inspiration, or do you have a specific look that you develop? Are you making lookbooks? Are you doing all of this? Like how in depth are these reviews going? Because I know the review itself is very in depth, but how much effort is going into these shoots?
It depends. I feel like sometimes I get into a flow of things and they just kind of happen as is. And at the moment, I'm actually working on shifting my style a little bit in these videos.
Okay, what's the direction? Where are we shifting?
So wait, let me start at the beginning. So, so when I'm making a photo shoot, I am the most inspired by locations first and foremost. So like all that location scouting, like I'll see something that I really like and I'm like, oh, I've got like a dress that will go really well here. Or I got this theme that I think would work. And so that's how I get inspired to do a shoot. And then I'll find like an outfit to go there too. Sometimes outfits inspire my shoots, but most of the time it's locations. So far I've been really into like I want my style to look quite casual with a mix of like whimsical here and there in my photo shoot. So yeah, I really love doing like jeans and a top kind of photo shoots because it's nice when you pull things back and it's like super simple. I think there's like a real nice like beauty to that. And then I also love doing photo shoots that are more dreamy and have like big flowy dresses and things like that. Now what I want to do is I'm kind of trying to shift my style a little bit to be a bit more like cottage kind of vibes, like farm vibe, cottage farm vibes, yeah. So I'm trying to find sort of outfits that kind of match that and also locations that match that too. I actually got to do 2 photo shoots recently in like dream locations that I was really excited to do. I came across this like country road that was just quite empty, and on either side there was super long grass, and at the moment, because it's spring, there were all these white flowers blooming on the side of the road, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do a photo shoot here. So I made it happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the style that I'm going for now, because I think like while I do focus a lot on the technical side with my reviews, the creative is what really keeps me fueled and inspired to make these videos.
Yeah, the reviews are just a ticket into nice locations. It's just an excuse.
So I feel like that keeps me really motivated and just pushes me a bit creatively as well. So I was feeling in a little bit of a rut like a few months ago, and I was like, I need to change things up. So that's where I came up with the whole like cottagecore thing that I'm going for now.
It's good to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
What kind of shoots have you got lined up for cottagecore?
Well, I've got like this outfit in mind that I'm trying to recreate. I want to get some knee-high boots to start using as like a styling piece.
Are you providing a lot of your costume?
I do provide a lot of the stuff. I've got like this rack of clothes at home that I like pull from. So a lot of the time I ask my clients, my models to bring outfits, and sometimes the outfits are really good and sometimes it doesn't really suit like the location that we're in. So in those cases, I'll like pull the outfit together. What I like to do is I just buy pieces, but pieces that I can use like again and again and again in my photo shoots, just for like
very
to not
neutral,
be wasteful.
no logos, that
exactly.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. I've got this white maxi skirt. If anyone like goes back to look through my Instagram now, like you'll see it. It's just
once you see it,
so many times.
That's so funny.
But I think it's good to have like little things like that. If I was doing shoots with like clients, sometimes I get clients that come to me and they're like, I want to look like those models. And like they just want to shoot where they look super dreamy and beautiful in the scene. So if they don't have anything, I can usually provide something for them as well. Yeah.
That's good. Because there's some people that kind of treat their photography as, oh, I'm just the photographer, your talent, and someone else has to organize all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, and then there's photographers like you that you're kind of, I wouldn't call it like it's in the package, but it's like you're doing so much above and beyond just actually shooting it.
Yeah, I try to give like an experience to people. I think that makes it fun as well. Yeah. It's like, it's when I'm photographing someone, because I've got such a distinct style, it's almost like they're stepping into my world.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm trying to make it like, all flow together.
You mentioned you're doing a little bit more travel vlogs and a couple of other videos and kind of sprinkling them in amongst the tutorials and so on. Where else are you got any travel plans?
Yes, I do have travel plans.
Okay.
I will be going to Las Vegas next year to do a photography or quite a few photography talks and a couple of workshops.
Because you did a couple
as well.
this year as well, if I'm not wrong.
I did, yeah. I went to 2 events with Skyline for Apathy. So we did that. That was exciting. And then, I'm going back to Vegas next year as well. But a lot of the travel that I do actually comes up pretty last minute. So you kind of have to be ready for anything.
Yeah,
like,
try not to book yourself out.
Exactly.
Just in case.
Like a lot of the time I'll find out maybe a week out before I have to travel. Yeah, because a lot of the time if I'm traveling, it could be like for gear. So like they don't want to tell you too early.
Yeah.
So you kind of find out last minute.
The old embargo.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your strategy when you're reviewing embargoed gear? Because you have to kind of like keep it a secret. It's not like walk-in circular key with it out in the open. Yeah.
I've been wanting to do a photo shoot in the CBD of Sydney for a really long time because we've got some really cool buildings and stuff. But every single time I had to do a shoot, it was for an embargoed product. And I was like, there's no way I'm taking this piece of gear out into the middle of the city where there's heaps of people. I'm like, chances are no one will even know, but I'm like, I'm not even risking that.
Yeah.
And then finally I had something that wasn't under embargo and I was like, yes, this is my chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think luckily with my style of work, because I shoot in parks and natural places, it's already quite like desolate, like empty.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have to worry too much. But yeah, I'm definitely careful. If I'm traveling with embargoed gear or I'm posting like behind the scenes with embargoed gear in my camera bag even, I'm like so paranoid and I'm always like triple checking like my story posts. I'm like, can you see anything in the corner? Is there anything in the background? You have to be so careful.
That's so funny. I hadn't thought about that, but on FaceTime and it's in the background.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, so sometimes you're only getting these products a week in advance, you said.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty last minute. You just have to cram in as much as you can, as much testing. Usually if I get something very last minute, I kind of have to drop everything that I'm doing to be able to spend as much time with the gear as possible, because I don't want to like make a mistake in my reviews or anything like that. So yeah, I put the same level of care even if it's last minute. But yeah, it's interesting in this line of work, like you kind of have to be ready for anything, whether it's like a last minute piece of gear or last minute travel. So we keep it, we kind of go with the flow with like our workflow.
Yeah, especially because the photographic community is also very quick to, if you say something wrong or something, that's wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, people really say what they think on YouTube.
Especially on
they
YouTube.
Don't hold back.
Yeah, on Instagram or TikTok, the comments are generally pretty lighthearted.
I think it's because on YouTube, it's a bit more anonymous. Like it's on Instagram and TikTok, like if you go to someone's profile, you can kind of link it to the person more easily. Whereas on YouTube, you can't really do that.
Yeah, people are savage.
Yeah, so they just say whatever. You got to have pretty thick skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a learning curve as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I had a tough time starting out on YouTube. I don't know like what it was, but I feel like people gave me a really hard time when I was starting out. And it wasn't until like I kind of started proving that I'm like, well, I actually have a lot of photography experience. Like I'm not just some young girl who's like, I don't know, just decided to start talking to you about cameras. I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time. That people started coming around slowly.
Yeah. It is interesting. It's like people attribute the success as the validation for the work.
Yeah.
So it's like if you make videos about yourself or vlog or something, up until a certain threshold, it's cringy. And then the moment you break that threshold, now it's legit.
Yeah.
But it's like that in-between period can be really harmful.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And actually, I can tell when YouTube's pushing my videos, even now, to a new audience because I start getting that sort of influx of comments again, which is really weird. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, here we go again. Yeah. I mentioned briefly earlier about the ebbs and flows, but what does that actually look like in the real world? Because we talked about the algorithm in a few other episodes, but it is difficult, when you're making this is your career and you're kind of relying on how a platform decides to interact with your content.
It's scary. And there's been times where something has changed in YouTube, like in the platform itself. And then I would upload videos and they would just get no reach. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? And it's scary because like you can't get in contact with them. There's no like boss to go talk to, be like, hey, is there something up with this? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
You're just kind of at the mercy of these platforms. So I think it's, for me, what I've done to sort of get ahead of that is try to have lots of different income streams. So I've been working on the retouching software. I've got my presets. I'm working on this online workshop. I work with clients commercially. I do YouTube, but I also post my stuff on Instagram and TikTok, and I've got a self-hosted blog, a website.
Yeah.
Like there's just like
workshops and brand deals, like everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to do that these days.
Yes. Yeah, because you never know. And then like I've seen like the rise and fall of platforms because again, I've been online for so long, but like I used to post my work on DeviantArt and Flickr when I first started, and they had huge audiences on those websites. And now like there's barely anyone. At least on DeviantArt, like there's not much of a photography community. Flickr is kind of coming back a bit, I've noticed. But then you have, what was that app? It was called, Vine.
Yeah.
And it just like got taken down. And you're like,
disappeared.
That could happen to anything, really.
Yeah. That was one of the questions we had at Scenescape. Someone asked a few of the other panelists, they were kind of like, what would you do if that platform disappeared?
Yeah.
What would your strategy be?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty interesting idea.
It is, yeah. Yeah, that's where I think you have to do a bit of everything. But for me, like I definitely prioritize YouTube. That's my number one. That's where all my effort goes is YouTube. And I upload videos every week. And that kind of depends. Like right now, towards the end of the year, it's definitely busy season. So I've been uploading sometimes 2 videos a week.
Yeah.
And then towards like March, April, things get a little bit more quiet. I think people are starting to get into the like either wedding seasons or shooting seasons because it's getting warmer in the Northern Hemisphere, and that gets kind of quiet. So I upload maybe once every 2 weeks here and there just to give myself a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah.
And then I guess my second platform would be Instagram that I put a lot of effort into as well. Yeah.
When you said that some, if the video just doesn't perform, that's also a scary feeling if a brand has some kind of expectation for how that content will perform.
Yeah.
I mean, I did some work with a filter brand and I filmed almost a full week straight for a YouTube video, and even the social cut of that YouTube video, just, the 9:16 vertical cut where I'm talking about the product and how it works and everything, that video flopped. But then a reel of me just opening the box and getting the filters out and just showing them one by one, that just blew up. And so the brand was ultimately, they were happy with it. But it was just interesting that I was like, all right, I put all this effort into this thing and then it just didn't perform.
Yeah.
And then a phone clip performed really well.
Yeah, it's definitely, social media is volatile, I would say. Yeah, you never know like what could go well and what doesn't. And it doesn't really matter if you put a lot of effort into something. Sometimes, yeah, when you don't put effort into it, it could pop off. And sometimes if you do, it doesn't. Like, you never really know. I do know that like people they can sniff out like a sponsored video so easily nowadays that I'm always open with my sponsorships, but I kind of feel like you have to package them a little bit differently. Like I was saying, like they need to be a bit more valuable to the person watching rather than being like a straight up ad, like talking about the product.
Hey, I got sent this cool thing, but you didn't. No.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so why should I watch that?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that how was that learning curve? Because there's obviously a massive difference between making content that's not for a brand and making content that is for a brand, or at least in partnership with a brand.
Yeah.
What's that learning curve like? Because obviously that's changed over your career.
Yeah.
But in those early days, like how did you figure all that out? Because now you're on a podcast telling an audience how to do it, but when you started, that didn't exist.
True. I think it's the whole like failing thing. Like you said, I've also had videos that I wanted to do well and like were for a brand or something and then they just flopped. And it's so disappointing. But I think failing is part of learning. Like you'll never really push yourself and try different things if you don't fail. So it's sort of like, yeah, that whole like self-criticism thing. Then I look at it and be like, well, why didn't it get viewed? And then
do you look at your analytics?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like the most important thing to look at, I think. Because you can see like on YouTube, it shows you like a whole retention rate of the video. So I don't know if maybe the people listening don't have the YouTube Studio app or haven't uploaded a long form video, but basically a really important factor is there's this graph that sort of spans the entire length of your video that shows like how much people are watching throughout the video. So you can go to like a specific dip in the graph and it will correlate with that point in the video. And so you'll see that like you started talking about like something and then it dipped.
The sponsored ad section.
Yeah, and then it goes boom. So then you're sort of like, well, why didn't they like that? And then it's like you kind of have to figure out like what to do better to help that improve.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely been like a lot of failures. And even though like, I don't know, people might see my channel and be like, oh, she's made it and everything's so easy and everything she posts does well.
It's constant.
It's constantly me learning and improving. And I always feel self-doubt as well. I'm like, oh, that's it. My channel's over. Like once a video does bad and like, yeah, it's weird. Like even if you do it for a long time, you still don't really know that it's going to keep going or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you feeling any degree of kind of like repetition? Because doing reviews itself, tutorials are really exciting and like the BTS you said is really fulfilling.
Yeah.
But doing reviews, I can imagine, you're doing a lot of the similar tests. Yeah. You're doing a lot of, autofocus test, you're doing the flaring test, like you're doing a lot of very similar kind of approach and workflow over and over again. Like, does that become monotonous in any way?
Surprisingly not.
Okay,
I actually really enjoy doing all the tests. And I think because I'm always testing different things, that keeps it a bit exciting because then I get to see like, oh, this one does this. So this one does like that. So I find it interesting. And even though like I have been doing like similar things for so long with reviews, only recently did I change up like something in my reviews that is now consistent again. Like it's the order that I post things in. So I used to post my autofocus test first and then the retention wasn't so good on that anymore. So I'm like, let's pop it in the end when we talk about video because I always do autofocus in video mode. And now I was like, kind of doesn't make sense because I start talking about performance like halfway through the video. So I'm like, maybe I should pop it in there instead. So now I've switched that up. So even though I've been really consistent with my reviews, little things like change here and there, and I'm constantly trying to like tweak things to make it flow better or to make it easier for someone to watch. So yeah, there's always like changes happening. So even though it's like the same thing, it changes slightly.
Yeah. Do you find that's also the same with gear? Because, most photographers will have their kit and they know all of their lenses really, really, really well inside out.
Yeah.
Whereas you get the opportunity, which not many people get, but you get an opportunity to just test so much stuff.
Yeah.
So like that must keep things a little bit more exciting.
It does. I love the challenge of having to shoot with something completely different every week. Like I find that really fun. So one week I'll be shooting with like a 24 millimeter, and then the next week I have to shoot with a 200 to 600 millimeter lens, and I have to do like a portrait photo shoot each time, even if the lens isn't specifically for portraits.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
I find that really fun. The challenge, like it keeps my brain thinking, and it pushes me a lot creatively.
What are your favorite lenses?
With like weird lenses, I really love shooting portraits with the 14 millimeter f1.8 GM.
Okay.
Yeah, we had like this model who just like moved around so like flowy and freely. And we were shooting in the streets of Sydney. So there were these beautiful
terrace houses. Is this the street shoot
houses.
you were talking about?
No, this was another shoot. I was like doing like a comparison of something. And the terraces had like all these flowers and vines like growing up the side of the building. So it looked so cool. And the 14 millimeter obviously captured like everything.
Yeah, you can fit it all in.
Yeah, but it was like really challenging trying to get portraits on that, but it was really fun at the same time. And then the 200 to 600 I was using, I went to Poland and we were in a town called Poznan, and it's like an old European town. So as you can imagine, the streets are quite small and narrow. And I was like,
perfect
let's use
for the 200 to 600.
Yeah, let's use this wildlife lens for portraits. And so we were shooting on the streets, and it was so much fun, like trying to find like compositions and interesting backgrounds that work like with the lens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it like kind of gets you out of your comfort zone. And in my YouTube videos, like in my tutorials, I tell people to think about using a lens that they wouldn't normally, because it just gets you thinking differently. Like you think about composition differently and think about posing differently. Like with the 14, you have to pose like super wide so your subject like fills the frame. Whereas with
you get lots of distortion, like stretching of the legs.
Yeah,
everything.
so you want to like do poses that sort of like exaggerate that. Whereas with the 200 to 600, you kind of want to pose a little bit more like closed in because it's so compressed, and it's hard to sort of compose your subject in the frame because it's such a long lens that even the smallest movement kind of like crops out limbs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very hard to not fall into the trap of just doing a headshot with a 600
yeah,
mil.
It really was.
Yeah. What else? Like, what's your favorite focal length?
My favorite focal length is 35 millimeters, which
and that's my challenge I've set myself is to boost the 35 mil.
Oh yeah, I do that on a daily basis. Yeah.
Just every episode so far with Sean and I've managed to talk about the 35 mil at least once. So I'm trying to boost it up as much as I can.
Nice.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty unconventional lens for a portrait photographer because it is considered like a wide angle.
Yeah.
And I remember like it's popular now for portraits, but back in the day it wasn't. And I used to get told a lot that it's wrong to shoot portraits on a 35. I'm like, it's not though. I'm like, you can get such cool results because it's wide enough that you can see a lot of the location. You can incorporate that into your frame. But it's not so wide that your subject gets lost in the frame like a 14, potentially.
You're also not distorting the face in any way.
Yeah, the only downside with a 35 is if you want to get like a headshot, then you do start getting a bit of distortion in like the facial feature. Yeah, it's like really intimidating for people. So in that case, I would use like an 85. That's my favorite combo, 35, 85 together. Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Is that what you take when you're traveling?
No, I used to.
Okay.
But now I take 35, 70 to 200.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because the 85, because it's telephoto, because it's prime telephoto, it's a bit hard to work with sometimes because when you're traveling doing landscape photography, you can't always necessarily move to like frame the shot that you want because like you're on the edge of a cliff or there's like a pathway or something. So I was like, I'm going to get the 70 to 200. And then I get a bit of extra compression as well, and then that versatility of it being a zoom.
Yeah, you're going to start sharing some more landscapes from travels?
Yes, I will. Yeah, we went to so many cool places this year, but for me, like editing gear reviews takes priority, and there was a lot of gear that dropped this year. So yeah, I'm like, I need to get editing on the travel stuff.
Yeah.
If
someone wanted to kind of, go down the YouTube route or get into fashion, portrait, wedding, anything that you've had experience in, what's your advice to someone that's maybe watching your YouTube channel and they're kind of like, I want to do what she does?
Mm-hmm. For me, so the way I got into it is I got in touch with photographers that were already doing it full time. So with the headshot photographer, he ran a studio and did that full time. And I was like, I want to retouch, but I also want to learn from you because photography is something that I'm trying to pursue. So I would assist him and I'd learn a lot from them as well. And then the same as weddings, I found a wedding photographer that I got in touch with who I really loved his work. And I was like, can I do second shooting for you? And so I would go, and it's paid work as well. So you get paid and you get to learn, which is awesome. And I would second shoot weddings for him. And again, I got to learn so much. And it's really valuable working for a professional that's already been doing it full time, because you get to see how they like handle photo shoots, how they deal with people. I found it really valuable seeing how they deal with things when they go wrong as well, because that's not necessarily something that you can kind of read about or many people really share online.
Yeah, no one shares that in a YouTube review.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I really liked getting to see that. I think that's a really good way to do it. And then the other way is to literally just start shooting. I find that a lot of the time, and some of the people that I meet and talk to, they sort of like are thinking about it and they kind of want to start, but they don't really get out there and start shooting. And I think like when you start, the same as when I started, like my photos were not that good when I started. So it's like better to just start now with no clients, get the bad work out of the way.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. Yeah, get the bad work out of the way.
Yeah. And then once you start like finding your groove, finding your style, then you'll be posting that work online and you can start getting some clients under your belt as well. So yeah, just start shooting.
Yeah, perfect. All right, that's probably a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you'd like to see more of Julia's work, where can we find you?
So my username is Julia Trotti on everything. YouTube, I've got an Instagram account, TikTok, Facebook, and my blog as well is blog.juliatrotti.com.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming in and telling us all about kind of like the career pathway and what you've been up to.
Of course.
And also what's coming up and Appity.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. That was really fun.
Sweet. See you next week.